Hi, my name is Victoria and welcome to a Thoughtz Unbound. On this channel here, I'll be talking about my own experiences with complex PTSD, everything that I learn, and just try to, I guess, document my journey in this whole thing. But I also kind of want to like help others with it as well, because I was late getting diagnosed, and I know that a lot of people. This complex PTSD is a very lonesome, isolated condition. So I know that maybe a lot of people are either not aware that they have it, or they are aware that they have it, and they're not really able to understand it, you know? And I mean, that's not to say that I understand it, but it's more of a, let's understand it together, right? So, yeah. Please excuse me. I do have like a sort of a script here, and I probably would be looking down a lot. One, because I am very nervous, and two, because I will go off topic if I do not do this. Okay. I was recording before, but it just seems so stiff to me, and I just want to come off as real as I possibly can. Okay. It's nighttime. This is like when I feel most myself and the most comfortable. So more often than not, I will be in my room recording these videos at night. Like normally, over time I do hope to get a little bit more comfortable in front of the camera, but in due time. So complex PTSD, complex post-traumatic stress disorder. What is it? It is a condition that occurs after prolonged exposure to trauma, neglect, and just kind of like a disregard for being there. But this happens while you're a kid, typically in your childhood. It can happen when you get older, but it does tend to happen, or it does tend to begin. It's rooted in your childhood. So typically you won't even realize that there is a problem until you get older and you start to realize that, hey, I'm kind of having problems in relationships, or I'm not able to keep friends, or I'm not able to be like everybody else. You'll start to kind of notice that about yourself. Like you kind of just don't seem to fit in the way that everybody else does, you know? Like it just, everything seems so much harder for you. Yeah. So it is, I will not be sugarcoating anything that comes with complex PTSD. There will be videos where I will cry. There will be videos where, there will be videos where I cry. I'm just saying. But coming back to what is the complex PTSD. So what it does is it basically, it reworks your mind, because mind you, like our brains are still building during this time, like so we're babies, like we're learning, we're mimicking people around us, we're looking for love from our guardians, from our parents, if you have brothers and sisters, aunts, uncles, just you're looking for some type of love, some type of just regard for your existence, basically. Okay, but you don't get that. So, and because you don't get that, you don't understand it, and because people tend to treat you like shit, or people tend to not really pay attention to you, you will turn on yourself, because then you will be thinking that, okay, so maybe it is just me. Like it's I make them not want to be around me. I make them mad. I make them uncomfortable. Like you begin to take the mistreatment personally, and not only that, but you turn it into like a you problem when it's not. But because you don't have anybody there telling you it's not a you problem, it becomes a you problem to you in your head. I'm just somebody who is still going through the whole treatment phase of it, so I can't really be like, yeah, like this is just gonna be so great and you're gonna be fine. I'm hoping that that's exactly what happens. I'm honestly hoping that that's what happens. So first and foremost, before I go any further, I am not a medical professional. Okay, I am the patient. My focus for today's video is just going to be on complex post-traumatic stress disorder, just what that is. Okay, so it's not going to be a very long video. So complex post-traumatic stress disorder is a condition where you experience symptoms or some symptoms closely related to PTSD, the original. But you also have additional symptoms such as difficulty controlling your emotions, feeling very angry and distrustful towards just anything outside of yourself. I'll say just anything outside of yourself is just like a no-go. It's characterized by a persistent fear of further harm and a persistent sense of helplessness. So it can lead to self-esteem problems, it can lead to trust issues, and it can lead to identity issues. As a child, you didn't really have people to talk to or cry on their shoulder, or like people you didn't have anybody. Okay, simply put, you didn't have anybody. And everything that you kind of went through, any type of trauma that you went through, any type of like difficulty that you went through, you ended up having to go through it on your own. Kind of have no choice but to stay, because 9 times out of 10 we're kids. Where the hell we gonna go? Like we don't really have anywhere to go. So, and then at times where we may have thought that we could run away, we were stopped dead in our tracks. And I had a time like that, like literal time like that. Like my mom and my dad were fighting, and like they were fighting, bitch. And I was crying. I think I was like 9. I had to be like 9. Yeah, they were fighting, like real deal fighting. And like my mom was, she had the upper hand. I ain't gonna lie. And I ran to the front door. I ran to the front door and I opened it. Like the door was fucking open. Like it was cracked. It wasn't open all the way, but it was definitely cracked. And she said, "Get your ass back in the house and close that goddamn door." Listen, I never shut a door so fast in my life. Oh my God. I never tried to run again after that. I never did it again. That was my last time ever trying to run out of the house. I was just like, yeah, this is life. But yeah, so that's it. Yeah. Since I've been, like diagnosed and stuff like that, I do believe that it doesn't make it any easier. This shit is still going to be very hard. It's like a love-hate relationship to yourself. Like when you're by yourself, you love yourself. Truthfully. Like when you're by yourself, like you don't really have a problem. The effects that happen in your childhood really doesn't start to affect you until you get older. That's when you'll realize, oh shit, this might be a problem. It's very lonely. I'll just leave it at that. Okay, so next, symptoms. We're gonna hit up on symptoms now. Managing your emotions is not your strong suit, or anybody who is or does have complex post-traumatic. I'm just calling it CPT SD because I can't keep saying that. Okay. You cannot manage your emotions. It's because you're on high alert all the time, like just high alert. And you're going to be very critical of yourself and other people as well. You're going to overreact. You're going to underreact. I overreact a lot. You will have times of disassociation. You will have anger issues, people pleasing issues. You'll have hopelessness, despair, low self-esteem, so much guilt, so much shame. You would honestly just want to crawl under a rock. CPTSD survivors, we're very hyper vigilant. We pay attention to everything, to your tone, to the way you're walking, to the way you're looking, to the way your body is sitting. We pay attention to every single detail. There's not one thing that we do not notice. We notice everything. So, and we do tend to take everything very personally. I have that problem as well. It's not something that we do on purpose. It's just something that we have to learn to cope with and deal with. And I am not there yet. Okay. I'm just not there yet. I take things very personally. I do. Typically, you won't really remember traumatic events like clearly. You'll kind of remember its and bits of it and stuff like that. And you will probably like be around somebody and then something happens and all of a sudden your mood will change. And it can be a bit like alarming to other people. It can be very uncomfortable for them. And it can be fucking uncomfortable for you too. What the hell? Yeah. You'll have like you'll tend to not really like yourself at all. That's a big thing. That's a big one for me. I don't really like myself too much. It's something I'm currently working on with my therapist and I, but those are like the symptoms of it and the effects. And so what I will say is this complex PTSD is, it's shitty, man. It's it's shitty. And this video is probably not the best explanation of it, but I kind of just wanted it to be as real as it possibly could be. Having this condition is, I would not wish this on my worst enemy, because you can't necessarily explain something to people that they've never experienced. So if you tell people, yeah, like I used to get beat, or like, like I was always left places and I didn't really have anybody to talk to as a kid, like people would just be like, I mean, yeah, I didn't have nobody to talk to either. Like, no. Just no. I mean, I get that they're probably trying to understand what you're saying, but that people can only understand you as much as they understand themselves. And if this is not something that they have necessarily dealt with, or had family members that dealt with it, or friends that dealt with it, or just anybody in their close circle that has dealt with this type of trauma and this type of just self-loathing type of thing, people are never necessarily going to understand it. They're going to downplay it. They're going to just be like, why you why so serious, like that shit. But it's like, no, seriously, like if you could step inside of my mind, I wouldn't have to say anything. Like I swear to God, like with all this AI stuff that they're coming out with, I hope to God that they come up with something that can like give you a trailer of somebody's life before you can like sit there and fucking judge them. Because look, complex post-traumatic stress disorder is a bitch. And I'll give a little story time and then I'm gonna end off the video. I was 20 years old when I lost my mom in 2015, January 14th, 2015 is when I lost her. I lost her in her, she passed away in her sleep, and I was the one who found her. And it was at like that point when my entire life kind of just like changed, because I grew up with my mom. Like I grew up with my mom. That's who I grew up with. And like my dad was around, but he was like in and out. And so would it be like years I'd see him, years I wouldn't, or that type of stuff. But he was there, but he wasn't. So anyway, when she passed away, it's like I just lost a big part of who I was, a big part of what I thought my purpose was here, was to just, take care of her and make sure that she was okay. And you know. So around the time she started drinking when she was 33, and that was around the time when her and my dad like kind of broke up, and then she got this new boyfriend, and then he would like beat her ass and shit like that. And I would hear it, and yeah, I called the cops one time, but at that time, of course, they were having sex, so of course. The one time. But yeah, so because I called, and I was like, my God, my mom's boyfriend is beating her up, and then I just hung up the phone. So they called back. That was around the times when we had like house phones and shit. So they called back, and then he came out, and I just remember because he was so tall, and I remember just like looking up because I was 5 or 6, and I just remember going like this, and he's like, "Who called the cops?" My fucking cousin told on me. But yeah, there was that, and but then all the other times when he would like actually beat on her and stuff like that, it was hard. It was hard to hear her and see her, and it was around that time that she kind of just started to choose him over me, and she would like drop me off at my dad, or if we couldn't get in contact with my dad, she would drop me off with my friends. Like, she went to jail for like 6 weeks when I was 7, and my dad didn't come and pick me up. I stayed with this family that ended up being my best friend. But yeah, I ended up staying with them, and then she was gone for 6 weeks. And then when she came back, it's like, I don't know. Like, I heard her and I was so happy to see her. And she just kind of came inside, and I ran down the stairs because we had moved, where they had moved. And I ran downstairs because I heard her. 6 weeks, you know? I'm expecting like a big old hug, and no. I think all she did was like, "Hey, mommy." Because my dad and my mom, they're islands, so like they always call me mommy, which is weird, but it's what they do. My mom would call, she's like, "Hey, mommy," and I was like, "Hey," you know, like I'm all happy. Like she didn't even hug me. And it was like around that time when I started to realize, or start to really pay attention to people, because I saw that she wasn't gonna hug me, so I just didn't do anything. And I kind of just, like, "Hey," and then she's like, "Hey." She had braids in her hair. It was weird seeing with braids. But yeah, so that's kind of when it started. And yeah, a lot of stuff happened to me when I was with them. And a lot of stuff happened when she came back, and I don't know, it was just like I think because I was seen as a good girl, like the one that you don't have to worry about them doing their homework, or like you didn't have to worry about me doing that because I was gonna do it regardless. I would walk home from school, and my mom was always afraid to cross the big road, is what she would call it, because when she was back in Jamaica, she's Jamaican, my dad is Asian, and she was like, when she was in Jamaica, one of her friends got hit and they died when they were crossing the street. So she was always afraid of crossing the street. So when she heard that I crossed the street, she about had a heart attack. But that's what I'm trying to like say. Like, from a young age, I just kind of became my own guardian. Like, I was the person that looked out for me, because I knew that although, yeah, I do have my mom here, and I still have to make sure that I'm okay, because And it's like, I don't want to say like my mom was a bad mom, because she wasn't. My mom was not a bad mom. She was a good mom. She really was. But it's just, she could have been better. She could have been a lot better. Good, but you know, like, she had a lot of demons and stuff. She had a lot of demons. She had a lot of stuff that happened to her. And I didn't learn about that stuff until, you know, like, she started to drink. And her drinking escalated quickly. Like, that shit escalated. Like, it got bad. Yeah. But she was a good mom, you know? It's just, I just wish a lot of stuff that happened to her didn't. Because if that stuff didn't happen, a lot of stuff that happened between us would have never happened too. So it's like, and I think that's like what a lot of people don't pay a lot of attention to, you know? Kids remember things. And even if they don't necessarily remember it vividly or directly remember it, subconsciously, their body remembers that shit. And just, I just wish her life would have been better. Because if it was, then my life would have been better. And that's like something that I'm like trying to come to terms with. It's like why did they have to do that to her, you know? I don't know. But yeah, that's what complex PTSD is. Fuck. Yeah. Complex PTSD is it's a bitch. I think it's something that is generational. Like, if you don't fix it in your generation, it's gonna happen again. If you choose to have kids, it's gonna happen again. And growing up, you know, like, I was always like, I want a lot of kids, because I don't have family and stuff like that. Like, my mom was my family. She was the black sheep, so. And I never met my dad's side. So I would always say I wanted a bunch of kids. No less than 3, no more than 5. Bitch, now if you ask me, yeah, I'm finna have some dogs, bitch, and some cats, and maybe a farm. But kids, I wouldn't feel right bringing kids into the to the world. I just wouldn't feel right about it. I would feel very afraid and scared, because I would not want them to go through this. Because I'm pretty sure my mom never thought that this would happen to me. Like, never. But it did. And it's just, making it happen again. Like, that shit stops with me. And if that means I can't have kids, then that's just what that means. But yeah. Yeah, sorry. So yeah, this was sort of like my video for what is complex PTSD. I'm sorry for, the emotional parts of it, but that is a lot of what complex PTSD is. So if you do have it and you are looking to heal it, or at least be able to, learn better coping mechanisms instead of isolation and self-sabotage and stuff like that, you have to be willing to go to a lot of dark places. And I've been to a lot, and I have a lot more to go to. But yeah. Thank you for watching, if you did reach this far. Thank you. And I do hope that I could have maybe brought even one smile to your face or made you understand it just a little bit more. And if you did, please like and subscribe and, engage with me. I'll talk back, I promise. But yeah, you are appreciated and adored and special and all that stuff. And as always, I got you as long as you got me. Till next time.